What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video of the Point After podcast. Here today again with my co-host Matthew. Today we're going to be talking about the Pittsburgh Panthers, who are in a sense in a rebuilding year, but you're also coming off the team that finished second in the ACC in 2021. But before we get into that, Matthew, how's it going, buddy?
Brother, it's going. Another night we get to talk about football. For those of you that don't know, we're recording late. That's kind of our niche, I guess you could say, when it works. But hey, here to talk about Pitt. A lot to talk about, and one of our favorite teams, one of TPA's personal favorite teams.
Yeah, Pitt impressed a lot of people last year. Definitely shocked a lot of people as well. I know I want to say we both had North Carolina and Clemson in the ACC championship, or at least one of those two teams. I can't remember if they're in the same division or not. And then it ended up being Pitt and Wake Forest. So we'll cover both. We're covering Pitt today. We'll cover Wake again before the season gets here in 22 days. But nonetheless, anything recruiting wise you want to touch on before we hop into offense or defense?
Uh, I've got a couple just like transfers to talk about. Other than that,
Okay,
um,
yeah. Really, the only thing I want to touch on is, which I guess this all technically applies to offense, but Pitt had it rough. You lose your the only first round quarterback taken in the NFL draft, Kenny Pickett. You lose your offensive coordinator, and you lose your Blitnikoff winning wide receiver. So you want to talk about rebuilding? You're truly starting from scratch here. Luckily, you do get a transfer quarterback in who should do pretty well. Keaton Slavis comes in from USC. Apparently didn't want to play for Lincoln Riley or something. I don't know. I would have wanted to play for him, but anyway, you get Frank Signetti in to come be your offensive coordinator, and I'm gonna tell you why this is big, man. I've had to do a lot of back end research on this. Frank Signetti is a huge run guy. Okay, in the ACC media days, Pat Narduzzi made it clear he was unhappy with how well they, passed the ball last year, how much they passed the ball. So I guess he's pissed about Kenny Pickett being picked in the first round. He's pissed about Jordan Addison winning the Blitnikoff. Makes no sense to me why you want to do that, but his thing this year is run the ball a lot more effectively. So you bring in Signetti, again, NFL guy who's all over the run game. Um, so that's probably the one thing to look an eye out for most. Like I said, Keaton Slavis has played pretty decent at USC. Hasn't played great, but he's also not been in the best situation. So he's coming in. I think Pat Narduzzi, he's a great coach. There's no denying that. I think he should put his handprint on Slavis. I think Slavis will be a game manager, but he'll also be able to win some games for you if he needs to. And like you mentioned before we got started, their schedule is not that easy. Now, like I mentioned a minute ago, you got to replace Jordan Addison. The guy coming in that I think could step up to do that is Canado Mumpfield, wide receiver transfer from Akron. Now, you hear he's coming in from Akron, a smaller G5 school who hasn't been good at all. Thing is there's only a few guys in front of him that's really outshines him talent-wise, but I think experience does just as much as talent does when you're, I think, a fifth-year guy, maybe a four-year. So Mumpfield's another guy to look out for. And the biggest thing to me is all offensive linemen return. So you get an experienced quarterback, experienced transfer wide receiver from Akron, all 5 of your offensive linemen come back. That's going to be huge for protecting Keaton Slavis, but that's also going to be huge for wanting to establish a better run game in 2022. And then you return 3 running backs who shuffled in and out last year. So the depth is there, the experience is there. I think Pitt's offense should be in for a pretty good year. And like I said, it's a tough schedule, so they're going to have to score a lot of points.
yeah. Hey, and I think excuse me. I think too, like you said, a running game would be like really beneficial to them this year. I think, especially for Keaton Slavis. I do agree. And the offensive line, everything that they've lost. What more could you ask for than all 5 guys returning? Really, if a true football fan. But nonetheless, onto the defensive side. Speaking of lines, it's no secret Pitt's defensive line is always top 10 at least. Last year they were tied second in the nation in tackles for loss, and I think that'll be something that repeats this year. Definitely top 10, I think, in tackles for loss. I think they've been top 10, top 25 tackles for loss the last 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like I've seen that somewhere.
Yeah,
Maybe
they've
we
been
talked
really good
about that
defensively. So
last year. Yeah. But led up front by two guys, last year, first, second team all ACC, Habakkuk Balnando, and tackle Kalajah Cansey. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Two guys I think that are probably going to average two sacks a game, maybe three tackles for loss here and there, something like that. Definitely going to be disruptive. I think that's going to be great, especially for a secondary that's it's known to give up a lot of yards. Sometimes, they get the interception. I think there was a game last year that had 4, maybe 5 picks, and I think it was how many did they have against Tennessee last year?
I know Hendon
It
only
was it
threw
was on TV. I think
yeah,
that
Hendon only threw 3 interceptions all season, so I don't think it was that game.
yeah, it may have been an ACC game. It's more realistic, but hey, nonetheless, secondary is going to have their work cut out for them. But if I'm not mistaken, all 4 guys are vets. Brandon Hill, number 2 tackle on the team last year, and then he's a safety, and safety Eric Hallett, who had 72 tackles last year, a couple interceptions, and both your cornerbacks have veteran experience. So linebackers, two, you got a couple guys coming back. I want to make sure I say this right. Sir Vasia, Dennis. Um, he's the only guy that I've seen that has had playing time that was on the team last year. And then you got Notre Dame transfer Shane Simon, who also has seen playing time, just will be on a new team. So, like the defense or offense, the defense has lost some parts, but I think you're going to stay strong where you need to, which is up front. And you got veteran experience in the secondary, which is where you need it the most. So I look for Pitt's defense to actually complement the offense really well.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me is Pitt. They didn't really do a great job in terms of recruiting. They brought in the number 49 portal class and the number 76 recruiting class overall. I didn't write down what their returning production is, but I don't imagine it looks good when you lose Pickett and Jordan Addison. Did you mention how many players they're returning on defense?
Uh, no, I don't even know if I put that in. Hold on, let me scroll down here. I usually put all like numbers and stuff at the bottom. Uh, I have 6 on here.
Yeah, so they
That's not counting defensive rotation guys. That's just
yeah,
starters.
yeah. I'm on
You're
real
looking at
quick. So they're returning 74% on offense and 75% on defense, good for 32nd. So not bad. That's not terrible.
yeah,
A lot of these schools in front of them are G5 schools like Bowling Green's number 1. You got UMass at number 4.
I'd
Um,
sneeze.
let's see, UNLV, UCF, UTSA, bless you, Tulane, Old Dominion, UConn. So I mean, these the schools in front of you, you're still returning 74% of your production, which is really really good. So not having a good recruiting class is okay this year. Not to say that it'll be the same case going forward. But moving on to their schedule, which we've already hinted at a little bit, it's brutal. You get the backyard
Yep.
brawl coming back against West Virginia that sold out in record time. You get Tennessee at home, where you beat them last year in Knoxville. You get 2 lower tier games of Western Michigan and Rhode Island before facing Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech back to back weeks at home. Bye week, then you face Louisville and North Carolina on the road. Syracuse, Virginia, Duke, and Miami with Tyler Van Dyke and Mario Cristobal. I think that's going to be a really good game down in Miami, Florida on Thanksgiving weekend. But looking at their schedule, Matt, how do you see this season playing out for Pitt?
I can really see them week 1 opening up with a win. I think if I'm going to bet, that's going to be more inclined who I'm going to bet for is Pittsburgh. But I think that Tennessee game, I've got it circled. I hate that it comes at week 2, but at the same time, I love that it comes at week 2 um, for the simple fact of it's a true test for them going forward. I think it's good before they get to the gauntlet of the ACC schedule. But personally, Gage, I think they're going to lose that game against Tennessee. I think they lose that game by a couple of scores. But, who knows? It's still early. Realistically, I think you're looking at the same as couple teams we've already covered. I think you're looking at 7-5, 8-4 season, and you could get to that 9-3. You could get to the 9-3.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what I'm thinking. I'm leaning a more heavily towards the 9-3 just because I feel like with your returning production, I didn't write it down, but now that I see it, I remember it. And mentioned what I did earlier. Slavis is a game manager, but Slavis could also very well win you some games. He's going to have a duel with JT Daniels. We know that in week number 1. He's going to have a duel with Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker was 31-3 touchdown to interception ratio last year. Like, that's unheard of. That's stupid. So you start off the year with 2 very tough teams, and if you win both of those, which it's very likely, I don't think it happens. I'm with you. I think Tennessee gets revenge. But if they start off 2-0, I'm not surprised. And then you look at it and then it's like, well, if you start off 2-0, you could go 6-0 into the bye week, at least 5-1, and then you play Syracuse and Duke to end the year, like 2 of the last 4 weeks. So I mean, there's 7 wins. If you can split 2 of those other 6, like, you're in pretty good position. So I'm leaning towards that 9-3 mark, but I've got them as a guaranteed loss to Tennessee and Miami. I don't like saying guaranteed, but that's just my prediction right now as it stands on August 5th. And then 50-50 games to I have UT, I think, VT, Virginia Tech, Louisville, and North Carolina. I guess you could throw Virginia in there as well. So I think all those are kind of the 50-50 games. Really depends on who's who at the end of the year. Like I said, you play Virginia on November 12th, you play Miami on November 26th. So who's healthy, who's peaking at the right time, all those things play into factors. But I like 8-4, 9-3 for Pitt.
Got a game circled outside of the Tennessee game, of course. Do you have a game?
I feel like the obvious game would be the backyard brawl, so I'm gonna go a little different. I'm gonna go with Miami. I think there's a lot of buzz around Taylor Van Dyke this year. Can he perform? Will he perform well for Miami? A lot of people think Miami's season rides on his shoulders, because there's a lot of expectations now with Cristobal down there, and Cristobal's already made a hell of an impact when it comes to the recruiting trail. Now the thing is they won't see those recruits until next year, obviously. But nonetheless, I'm looking forward to that Pittsburgh versus Miami game.
Miami, all about the U. We'll see. I'm kind of with you. I'm towards the end of the season. I like that Virginia game at Virginia, especially if you kind of look at if you're a Pitt fan and you want things to play out in your favor. Realistically, by that game, you're probably going to have 2-3 losses. Virginia Tech could be one of them. Tennessee, so forth. So 2 losses, 3 losses could be that. But a Virginia game could tell a lot for both teams. So that I think that for me is a big game. So trying to look ahead though,
Yeah, I mean we're what 3 months, about 13 weeks away from that Virginia game. So we got a long way to go, and it's a long season, and a lot can change between now and then. We're 21 days till kickoff. Oh wait, yeah, we're 3 weeks till kickoff, Matt.
My wife's asleep.
Oh, I got you.
I was about to scream, dude.
I can tell if you're going to say something or whatnot, but nonetheless,
I'm excited.
Yeah, likewise. Anything you want to add on to the Pittsburgh Panthers before we close them out?
Hey, one of our favorite teams. Wish them the best. Definitely will be watching some Pitt games this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to September 1st. I don't know if you know this. There's a special edition of College Game Day that day as well. They'll run a College Game Day. Yeah, I think it's just a 1-hour show before that game kicks off. So we get 2 that weekend.
I'd say there'll be 2 games on Thursday. Was there 2 games last year?
I don't know, because that is early.
Maybe it was like I feel like there was a game or a year when they're like. Anyways, we'll talk about it after
anyway, all right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let us know what your predictions are for Pittsburgh going into 2022. I don't know what their over-under is. I think we'll set the TPA over-under is 6.5 because we're at least taking 7, so we'll take the over. Let us know what you guys think. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.